Ladies and gentlemen, hello and welcome once again to Time Warp, the show where we take a wrestler from WWE's history or present and put them somewhere else along the wrestling timeline. My name is Paul Laporte. Joining me is my co-host Daniel Peruzzi.
Heyo.
And we have done a number of wrestlers up to this point, and the running theme with most of them is kind of taking everything, character, gimmick, person, and it kind of ends up being essentially the same, or at least how that gimmick would play somewhere else, or how that person physically would play somewhere else. Today's subject that we're looking at is going to be a little different because I think that it is going to be the first time in the show so far where the gimmick, I believe, will drastically change, and that is Yokozuna. Okay, so Yokozuna, for our younger wrestling fans out there, was known as a Grand Sumo champion who was around in the latter days of Hulk Hogan in WWF. Unfortunately, died way too young in the 90s and had a pretty short career. The rib, of course, was that Yokozuna was actually Samoan, a member of the famous Anoa'i Destiny Dynasty family. And he was related to everybody like The Rock, Roman Reigns, the Usos, everybody. So I thought it would be fun to take a look and see how he would be handled today. The first thing that I think would change drastically is he would not be a sumo wrestler in the modern day. But I don't necessarily know what they do with him for his gimmick. What do you think?
So, I mean, I agree, too, that it gets away from the Japanese type of gimmick because we saw they kind of tried that a few years ago with Tensai, and it just kind of didn't work. And whether that was bad booking or lack of interest, because there's a lot of similarities to see, you know, just to drive the point home, what would it work, you know, big looking guy from foreign country with manager and all that type of stuff. Like there's all, you know, Mr. Fuji, Tensai had, can't think of his name.
Neither can I.
Shows how memorable he was. So, you know, it just kind of didn't work. That type of an angle doesn't really work in present day WWE. At least that well, especially not so much, you know, the Japanese invasion angle. You know, so I don't know. There's a part of me that wants it to be the same because that's what I remember Yokozuna as, and that's what made him so cool. Especially, you know, when I was young when I was watching it, so he was this big, you know, 400 to 600 pound giant of a man who could just look like he could take down anybody whenever the heck he wanted to, you know. And the Japanese thing was the whole part of the shtick that made it enjoyable and kind of scary, if you will, you know, to younger fans watching back then. So,
are you frequently scared of Japanese people?
Apparently,
or is this just the one-time thing?
But you get the point I'm trying to make. So, you know, I guess the easy answer is he just comes in as another Samoan and knows the rest of them.
Yeah, and this is the other question though, is that so we had Yokozuna. Obviously, he's not going to be that, but we have another wrestler that kind of fits the Yokozuna prototype, or you know, that Yokozuna was the prototype for, that is a little bit closer, and I don't know if they do something similar to this, or if they don't even go this far with the Samoan Umaga. Umaga, pretty similar. Big size, very agile.
Not quite as big, but...
But, you know, they played up kind of the Samoan Savage thing, but that's not something that they've really done since then. And would they play it that way, or does Rodney Anoa'i, which I believe was his real name, feel free to correct me if I'm wrong on that, does he come in just as a regular guy, or does he come in as kind of the Samoan Savage that Umaga was?
I mean, I think that he looks the part of a Samoan Savage, if you want to say that. So, I mean, that makes the most sense. It gets him known and over and stuff the quickest right off the bat. I think that just is what makes the most sense. Like, what else would you bring him if you don't? Okay, so if you don't bring him in as that, what do you bring him in as?
I don't know. I mean, that's a good question. That's the thing is,
I mean, he has ability and stuff like that.
The issue is whether or not he comes in as like the silent monster, whether it's like the Samoan Savage or sumo wrestler or whatever, or they let him come in and be a regular guy. You know, and it's weird because regular guys aren't that size, and regular guys don't do what he did.
Yeah.
But
does he grow a beard and debut as a member of the Wyatt family?
Oh, shit, that's pretty dope.
Is he Braun Strowman?
That's actually super dope. Holy shit, I didn't even think of that.
Is he Braun Strowman?
That would, man, wow. I never, like, we've been, like, prepping this episode for, like, 2 weeks, and never in any of the scenarios that ran through my fucking mind was member of the Wyatt family in there, but that kind of works. And, yeah, he could be,
he's not as tall as Strowman, but he's easily the widest of all of them. We know his ability. He was agile for a man that size. When his weight was in control, and so he absolutely fits that role, you know?
Yeah, I guess, I mean, or God, that's super good.
And maybe that sets up a down-the-road storyline of he rediscovers that he's a Samoan, and now you have the whatever Wyatt family is in a few years able to square off against the Usos and Roman Reigns and The Rock and whatever other Samoans, and now you get a thing going like that. You know, there's just a lot of interesting... Okay. I didn't want to say it that way. Factions. Faction war. That's all. So, now that you've completely derailed that one, go ahead, sir. The floor is yours.
No, like I said, him coming in as a member of the Wyatt family is actually really, really interesting. I never considered it before. It's like either he comes in as like a third Uso, or he's Rusev. Or similar,
yes, yep,
where he just kind of comes in, he's, you know, like, they play up that he has some sort of martial arts background or something like they did with Rusev, and he comes in and he just beats ass, and yet, there's a real good chance that he just comes in as kind of the traditional monster heel on his own, or they stick him with a manager. Maybe he's a Paul Heyman guy, you know, maybe Paul Heyman finds him and brings him up, and they do something with him in that manner, but... That's probably the most likely thing, but part of me feels like, at least in terms of, like, Samoan wrestlers, they're trying to get away from that stereotype. So I almost wonder if they would do something different with him, and maybe actually debut him as a babyface, and almost more like the Rikishi style,
yeah.
I guess, which is another person you can use as an example, because Rikishi played up a lot of the stuff that Yokozuna did. He just lifted straight from him. So do it that way. I mean, from what I understand, Yokozuna was actually a pretty funny guy, a pretty big personality to go with that. So maybe they do something a little bit different. And it'd be interesting to see how him getting time in NXT to ruminate and work on things and find out what works and what doesn't, how that plays all along. It's like, I mean, it's easy to say that they just, like I said, they just make him another big monster heel, but maybe they do try and do something different with him, and maybe they do try and go a little bit outside the box. I hope they do, but I don't know. But I think nonetheless, like I said, the gimmick just changes completely.
So
like
if he just debuts in NXT, he is... It's tough for me to not think of the Yokozuna gimmick, you know?
Yeah.
Is he just... name dude whatever, and just has a whole
they give him an NXT name, and I mean they give him, like, he's big, you know, they give him probably long pants, and let him just kind of do what he does, at least the way that early Yokozuna did, maybe even with a more impactful moveset if he can pull it off.
Yeah.
Other interesting side note is that Yokozuna in WWE Today doesn't die as young as he does.
That's probably true.
I don't think. Because unless, I mean, maybe they release him for his weight for the same reason, but I feel like if you come in today's climate with... Of course, there's also a chance that he never clears medical and never gets in at all. But if he does, and they do, you know, run him through the classes and everything, I think he takes better care of himself. I think he's in better shape, and I think he does have, like, a longer and a healthier life. But it is weird because Yokozuna, especially because both you and I, we were kids when he came in.
Yeah.
It's just thinking of somebody, like, how does somebody that kind of larger, not even in terms of size, just in terms of stature and presence than everybody else, like how do you put him in a feud with Sami Zayn? You know, like, how do you put him in a feud with Dolph Ziggler? You know, like, how do you do that? But that's kind of the people he'd be interacting with.
Yeah.
I mean, are you going to run him straight at the top? They don't do that anymore. WWE just does not do that. So, I'm having kind of a tough time, because before, like, WWF played fast and loose with that stuff. He comes in, squashes a dozen guys and he wrestles Hulk Hogan. Like, the same basic way that they brought in The Undertaker. But they don't do that anymore.
I think it'd be like the Rusev build. I think it'd be pretty much the exact same career arc. He comes in, squashes a bunch of lower guys, has a couple of feuds, and then eventually gets to
loses John Cena
title. Hopefully with a better after result after dropping the U.S. title whenever that comes. You know, I mean, that's if you want to blame John Cena for that, have at it.
Can John Cena give him the AA? You think?
Absolutely.
Yeah, probably.
If he can do it to Big Show, he can do it to Yoko. If he can do it to Big Show, he can do it to Yokozuna. I don't think there's anybody that Cena can't pick up for the AA. I don't think. Even if they have to use the ropes and get him off the ropes onto the AA, you know, he'll deliver it one way or another, no doubt.
I know.
And Yokozuna was agile enough to do the things he had to do to make it a little easier for John to throw it.
True.
So I guess he just kind of follows the Rusev analogy. I think is actually the most accurate.
Yeah, joins the League of Nations.
There you go. There's a Japanese member of the League of Nations.
Like I said, I don't think they bring him as Japanese.
Yeah. No Banzai drop then, or is it just a different name?
They'll just give it a different name. I think
Samoan drop. No, that's already a thing.
No, they'll call it something else. But I mean, they can do that because he was the first guy to do that. So the Banzai drop, they just call it something else.
They wouldn't be afraid of the Banzai drop in modern WWE following like Lawler heart attack after getting elbowed, are they?
I mean, the thing is that I think with some rare exceptions, he's not landing on the guy. Like, he's not sitting on the guy's chest. I think that happened once or twice. He slipped and, like, legit, like, he didn't kill the guy. Like, he's okay.
Yeah.
But I don't think that they worry too much about that. Maybe they don't like the move as much and they give him something else for that reason or whatever. But
we lose the Lex Luger body slamming Yokozuna moment now.
That's true, we do. Yeah.
Although to maybe that's a thing. Nobody's able to body slam the guy.
Him up
People
or
can't
whatever.
Pick him up, you know.
See, that's the thing though, is that we have seen so many feats of strength that surpass that.
Yeah.
That John Cena and Brock Lesnar and all these people have done. Like, why can't Brock Lesnar lift this guy up when he can lift up the Big Show? You know, it's not that
well, I
different.
mean, he wouldn't be at that. It would be a thing for, like, for a few months of his
maybe
being built, like, the guys like Ziggler and, you know, and that, Sami Zayn.
And then Cena and Brock show up or somebody like that.
And then he gets to if he gets to the top of the card, then, now people can.
That's the thing.
You know.
So, I think that what we're ultimately coming to at the end of this is that he's not as special as he was back then.
Yeah, I think the gimmick helped a lot, you know?
I think the gimmick is just a matter of there wasn't really people like his size back then, and it's just there wasn't. I mean, there really hasn't been anybody of his size around, but there's Mark Henry, there's guys who are close, or sort of kind of in the same vein, but there wasn't back then
when he was in. There was, you know.
And the fact that WWE has gotten so gun shy as to, you know, blowing a guy right through the top of the card.
Yeah,
I think he stalls out in the mid. I mean, yeah, I'm sure he gets some sort of title shot or some main event run at some point.
Can he get another Royal Rumble elimination of throwing a guy over the top rope who tried to pin him? That's one of my favorite Yokozuna moments.
Yeah, I'm sure he's
throwing Savage over.
He is a staple of the Royal Rumble.
Yeah.
Forever and ever and ever. And maybe even wins like the Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royal or some shit like that. But he doesn't hold the belt ever, I think. Or if he does it in like that Kali way where it was super, super short.
Gotcha. So he's not a two-time champ like he was?
I don't think so.
Is he a tag team champ like he was? Because he was 2 times with Owen Hart.
Yeah. I think if he tags up, I think he would probably have his best success somewhere in some sort of tag division with somebody.
Yeah.
Whether it's one of the Usos or somebody else. Who would be a fun tag opponent? Or who would be a fun tag partner for Yoko?
Alright, so he comes in. He follows the Rusev strategy.
Tyler Breeze.
Oh, good grief.
How awesome would that be? Tyler Breeze, Yokozuna going under Tyler Breeze's wing.
No, because I'm afraid of that because now we're treading on to Fandango is going to be his tag partner. Now we're treading on to, we got Brodus Clay dancing.
Yeah, that's true. He might fall into a comedy gimmick.
Then that's, I think, the worst thing that can happen for him.
It's the worst thing, but it might happen. That might be
This
is not booking a better wrestler. This is
true.
Is where they will end up.
This is, I see him. Actually, yeah. So let's say that he's going to follow more the Brodus Clay path. I think that he's going to follow the Rusev path.
Maybe not. I don't know.
We said Tensai was the comparison.
It's true. That is true.
It might be the Tensai career arc. You know.
That's true. But regardless, I think we're kind of agreed on the fact that he doesn't hit the heights that he
Yeah,
did.
I agree
And
with
that's
that.
kind of it. Like I said, he doesn't hit the heights, but he has a longer life and longer career, probably.
Yeah.
Assuming that he stays healthy and keeps his weight down, which they will be much, much more pressing on him to do.
Yeah.
And they will have, I mean, I don't think, I mean, maybe they did a little bit back then, but WWE doesn't have, like, dietitians back then, and,
Yeah.
you know, like...
I mean, this is 30 years now, almost.
Yeah, so they didn't have that stuff back when he was in there, so I think he's probably does better overall, has a longer career, probably makes more money, but in terms of just how he stacks up on the card and the impact he makes, I can't see it being as big as it was. I just don't.
I agree.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, that's going to wrap it up for this episode of Time Warp. Hope you enjoyed. Please be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Also, check out all of our other shows. On Tuesdays and Thursdays, we have Changing the Questions. On Wednesdays, we have Booking About a Wrestler. On Fridays, we have Let's Play TEW. Also, be sure to check out our brand new website, changingtheqs.com. That's changingtheqs.com, where you'll be able to find all of our videos, all of our audios, as well as articles written by the CTQ crew, both in long form and in short. Also, be sure to check us out on Twitter, at changingtheqs, which is at changingtheqs, once again. Check us out on Facebook. Just search for Changing the Questions there. And that is going to wrap it up. Mr. Peruzzi?
Me.
I'm Paul Laporte. We'll see you
You.
again soon. Goodbye.
Everybody else.